the challenge we have in Jamaica with ownership is that we own our own space, but nobody owns the public space. We need to own our environment.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness encouraging collective responsibility in how we dispose our garbage. We here at the JIS join this call and urge you to do what you can to keep our nation clean. Don't throw trash out of your car windows or from your homes into gullies or anywhere else for that matter. And if you see someone disposing their garbage improperly, speak out and tell them to find the nearest trash receptacle. We all have to play our part and not dirty up Jamaica. The program is Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry. The news comes up on the flip side of this break.
Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it.
No dash, no paper, no dash, no plastic. Dispose your garbage responsibly. No know how to recycle, learn it quick. And if you drop it, better pick up every piece of it. Plastics last forever, don't forget the bits. Cause when them touch the street, them end up in the sea. Collect pan the reef where they fish them feed. And when you want seafood, I eat your
Keep
eat.
we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. No dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica.
Good day, I'm Tamara Michaela and this is your GIS News for Monday, September 19. Government is working on a policy to address plastic disposal. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure to JIS News on Saturday, which was observed as International Coastal Cleanup Day.
You would have seen the recent flooding on Marcus Garvey Drive. Clearly, a buildup of garbage, including plastics, would have caused the blockage of a particular drain. We have to be more conscious of how we dispose of our waste. In particular, plastic, which takes a very long time for it to biodegrade. So the government will be embarking on a special program about how consumers, households, citizens dispose of their solid waste, but in particular, how we treat with plastics.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness, meanwhile, is calling for collective responsibility in the care and protection of the environment. Citing an increase in vector-related diseases, Mr. Holness appealed to Jamaicans to start a waste drive in their communities to address the growing issue.
We all want you to own a piece of Jamaica. We want you to have your tag. But we want you to truly own Jamaica by taking ownership of your environment. By being active participants in protecting your environment. And a good place to start in protecting the environment and how we take ownership of the environment is controlling how we dispose of our waste, in particular plastics.
Prime Minister Holness was giving the keynote address at Friday's launch of the National Housing Trust Best Schemes competition. Successful housing schemes can win a share of $5.5 million for community improvement and a share of another $21 million under the NHT's Entrepreneurial Challenge. 60 NHT housing schemes have entered the 12-month-long competition. The Spruce Up Jamaica initiative is to be relaunched. In making the announcement, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett said the initiative was necessary as a large part of tourism activities is dependent on the beautification of the country.
On a ballpark, I could readily say that we spend well in excess of $2 billion overall on environmental protection activities, coastal and marine maintenance and activities. We need to develop a culture of coastal and environmental management. We need to understand that the environment is the product and it is the basis of our own being, and that if we destroy the environment, with these ecosystems. We are destroying our own ability to survive.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has charged tourism entities involved in public-private sector partnerships to make the best value of government assets. Mr. Holness asserted that with government becoming more efficient and agile, public-private partnerships were becoming more lucrative.
We must match the visitorship, the revenues, with our name brand and potential. We must work to double our visitor arrivals here, and we must work to double our revenues from tourism. That is the pathway to economic growth, job creation, and prosperity for all Jamaicans.
The Prime Minister was speaking Sunday at a celebratory function at government-owned, private sector-operated Melia Braco Village Hotel in Trelawney. The hotel was named the best new hotel in the Caribbean for 2016 by World Travel Awards. And still on tourism, Jamaica captured the lion's share of accolades in the 23rd Annual World Travel Awards for the Caribbean and North America. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett collected the awards, which included Jamaica being named the Caribbean's leading destination. Mr. Bartlett himself was the recipient of the Caribbean's leading personality for outstanding services to tourism. The awards ceremony was held on Sunday night at the Sandals Ochi Beach Resort. Other awards won by Jamaica were the Caribbean's leading cruise destination as well as the Caribbean's best spa destination. The Jamaica Tourist Board also got an award for the Caribbean's leading tourist board. Jamaica was also recognized for having the Caribbean's leading cruise port, the Caribbean's leading home port, the Caribbean's leading airport, and the Caribbean's leading meetings and conference center. And finally, government through the National Mathematics Program will be enacting new strategies to deal with underperformance in the subject area. Portfolio Minister Senator Ruel Reid said while the program has been useful, there has been mixed results in the outcomes. As a result, the minister is proposing to focus more on students than coaching teachers.
It could involve, through the community college and the university colleges, the best math teachers that we have available will be pulled out, and they will have to spend time with every single student in Jamaica who is going to be registered to sit mathematics and the other subject this year. We can't just have you in the universities and in the colleges with your great capacity and potential, and you're not impacting the students directly.
Minister Reid was speaking at a briefing for the Caribbean Center of Excellence in Mathematics Teaching CMAT pilot project at the Montego University College. CMAT's pilot project is in partnership with Sterling Asset Management, where 24 teachers from 4 primary schools in Region 1 are being trained in problem solving and content remediation using a number of practical techniques. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thank you for watching.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Protect yourself from the bite of this mosquito. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Third mobile service provider granted license, improved management at the Factories Corporation of Jamaica, and a call to act on how we dispose our garbage on the island. All these and more next.
Government grants spectrum license to Symbiote Investments. Prime Minister calls for greater protection of the environment. And Melia Braco Village lauded for its World Travel Award. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Carrie-Ann Smith.
Government is becoming more efficient, more agile, and entering into public-private partnerships that make the best value of our assets. And this is a very good representation of that.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness lauding government-owned Melia Braco Village on winning the 2016 Best New Hotel Award for the Caribbean by World Travel Awards. The hotel is owned by the National Insurance Fund and leased for 15 years to the Melia Hotel Group. At Sunday's function, Mr. Holness urged other public-private partnerships in the tourism industry to use Melia Braco as an example in redoubling their efforts to increase earnings from the sector. Before that, the Prime Minister urged Jamaicans to take greater responsibility for the environment.
We are the ones who have to be concerned about how we dispose of it. So within your communities, I'm using this platform to appeal to you who are the leaders when you go back to your communities, that you bring your community together and start a drive to raise the consciousness about how we dispose of our waste.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness was speaking at the launch of the National Housing Trust's Best Schemes competition on Friday. And as the island observed International Coastal Cleanup Day on September 17, Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced plans to implement a policy on plastic disposal.
You would have seen the recent flooding on Montego Drive. Clearly, a buildup of garbage, including plastics, would have caused the blockage of a particular drain. We have to be more conscious of how we dispose of our waste. In particular, plastic, which takes a very long time for it to biodegrade. So the government will be embarking on a special program about how consumers, households, citizens dispose of their solid waste, but in particular, how we treat with plastics.
The Prime Minister was among a throng of volunteers who helped to clear the coastline of East Rural St. Andrew of debris. Member of Parliament Juliet Holness said a number of beaches in the area were given special attention.
Glass, plastic bottles, paper, everything that's on the coastal line we have cleaned up. The members of the community appreciate that keeping the beach clean ensures that we also protect our reef, our coral, and protect the environment. It is also special for us because our beaches are revenue earning because tourists do come here.
After very careful consideration and advice, the government has decided to proceed with the issuance of the domestic mobile spectrum license to Symbiote Investment Limited and not to revoke the current carrier and service providers licenses currently held by the company.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness was speaking in Parliament Tuesday. His announcement followed careful deliberations by Cabinet after a Contractor General report advised against awarding the license as a result of adverse traces on one of the company's directors. Mr. Holness said the Spectrum Management Authority would deal with claims that Symbiote was using the spectrum without the requisite approvals. And going forward, Cabinet would be implementing several recommendations for strengthening the regulations of the telecom sector, including clear standards to determine whether applicants for licenses are fit and proper.
An overall review of the legal and regulatory framework for the telecommunications industry to correct drafting deficiencies and other weaknesses, to reflect contemporary realities, including the emergence of new technologies, and to cover issues such as equipment testing, as well as emergency use of spectrum by the security forces, will be undertaken.
And while he was at Parliament Tuesday, Mr. Holness also gave an update on steps being taken to address adverse findings of an audit done at the Factories Corporation of Jamaica, FCJ. In addition to hiring a new board and reviewing the organizational structure, Mr. Holness said court proceedings were also underway to recover money owed to the FCJ. The Prime Minister also said work was being done to get projects moving.
The FCJ can be an engine of growth, and the board has been charged to move with alacrity to get these projects off the ground. Mr. Speaker, work has started on the infrastructure for phase 1 of the 120,000 square feet Nagohead Tech Park, and that would mean, Mr. Speaker, that there will be more employment in the business process management sector. Mr. Speaker, they have commenced work on the rehabilitation of the Garmex Free Zone Complex, and that is going apace.
Prime Minister Holness expressed profound sadness upon hearing of the passing of artist and musician Cecil Cooper last week. He said Jamaica had lost a true icon who had a distinguished career as an influential musician, artist, and art educator. While lauding Cooper's incredible artistic passion, the Prime Minister also expressed condolences to Cooper's family. And that's how we close off Jamaica House Weekly for today. Do join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
I remember when I didn't like school and Mommy used to have to wake me up. Tabla, hurry up. You're going to be late for school.
Hey, now that I have a tablet, you don't need to wake me up. Since Mommy and Daddy bought me a tablet, I use my tablet for all kinds of cool stuff. I use my tablet to read books. I use my tablet to learn about history and science. I use my tablet to help with my homework. I even use it to talk to my daddy at work. Hello, Daddy!
Learning is easy and fun with a tablet. Take care of your tablet, use it wisely.
It's the third week since the official start of the new school year, and the Ministry of Education has recommitted itself to having inclusive education for all our children. Take a look.
So much has been done by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information to advance learning of deaf students. And with me to talk about these achievements is Education Officer within the Ministry, Christina Addington. Welcome, Mrs. Addington.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a bit about the different stages of hearing loss and how it affects the ability to learn in the traditional school system.
Okay, well, Andrew, hearing loss occurs on a continuum based going from hard of hearing to deafness. And on this continuum, there are different levels. So we start off with a mild hearing loss, then you can have a moderate loss, a severe loss, or a profound loss. It's important to note that it is the level of loss being experienced by the child that really impacts on if the child is able to be educated in the traditional system or if the child has to be educated in a segregated system. For children who experience mild hearing losses, for the most part, they're able to cope and experience success in the regular school system. But for this to happen, there have to be a couple factors that have to be in place. Firstly, the student has to be amplified, fitted with hearing aids. The child has to be in a small school setting, most importantly, in a small class size, so that there's not a lot of background information to distort information being shared between teacher and the students in the classroom environment. Another thing is the teacher working with a child has to ensure that she or he utilizes specific strategies that will help the child maximize whatever residual hearing that the child has. So things like placing the child at the front of the class. The teacher has to also remember he or she cannot turn their backs to the class while teaching. They have to ensure that they always have the child's attention, let the child know when they're speaking to them. And the greatest thing I think also is that the parents have to be very, very involved, because once there's great parent involvement in the educational life of the child with a mild loss, then this will better ensure success.
So Mrs. Addington, how many specialized schools are there for these students?
Well, to date we have 7 special education schools for the deaf across the island in Jamaica. We have 3 public schools which are operated in partnership between the Ministry of Education and the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. These are the Danny Williams School for the Deaf. They are in Kingston, in Hope Estate, Papine, and they have 2 satellites. One, a preschool center, which is attached to the school, and another unit class at the Excelsior Primary School. The St. Christopher School for the Deaf is also a primary school, and that school is in Brownstown, St. Anne, and it has a boarding facility. And Lister Mayor Gilby High School for the Deaf is the high school for the deaf. And that school has 2 satellites. So they have a satellite in Maypen and they have a satellite in Port Antonio. The other 4 schools are private schools. They are the Caribbean Christian Center for the Deaf. They operate 3 schools, one in St. James, one in Manchester, and one in Kingston. And the Jamaica Christian School for the Deaf, and they operate in Lethe, St. James.
So how has the ministry been advancing the learning of these students in these particular institutions?
Well, the ministry has been playing its part. For the most part, there is greater interaction and greater support to the public schools. One of the things that the ministry has done a couple of years ago, through discussions, the special education unit lobbied for posts of teachers' assistants to be established for the schools, special schools, and so the schools for the deaf, all the schools for the deaf, public schools, they got teachers' assistants. It's important to note that these teachers' assistants, they're not called teachers' assistants in the schools for the deaf, but they're called deaf culture facilitators. So although their role is to assist in helping the teachers to bring across the concepts, they also have another, which is a more important role, which is they are the deaf models for the children. The children are deaf, they are deaf, so the children have models and they display the culture, the deaf culture. So then and there, the children are seeing and learning about their culture and learning that it is okay to be deaf. They're deaf and it's a part of life and how they can succeed. The ministry also has put in place quality education circles, and all the schools for the deaf are engaged in a quality education circle. So the principals meet with administrators from other schools, they share information, and so the principals are able to learn and get advice and share information. The high school for the deaf has benefited from being placed on the e-learning Jamaica project, and so all the teachers there have been trained and are better equipped to, infuse the technology into the teaching learning process.
So what are the advantages of learning in these specialized institutions?
Main advantage, I would say, is at the schools for the deaf, the pupil-teacher ratio is 8:1. So we talk about 8 students to 1 teacher. Now, when you compare that with a regular school system where it's 1:35, but in most cases 1:40 or some more, we can say that the children are in a setting which makes concessions that they cannot hear, so they need more time to be spent interacting, engaging in learning. That the teachers, for the most part, in these institutions are special education trained. So the teachers are trained in deaf education, and while in school they have what they call in-service training, where the Jamaica Association for Deaf provides training in them gaining Jamaican Sign Language competence. So we know that the teachers, are being trained to effectively communicate with the children. So they're getting the information because it's being effectively passed on to them in a manner which they understand. The methodologies used are methodologies which are specific for enhancing learning with the population. And as I say, small setting, persons know and better understand them and are better able to work with them.
Perfect note to end on, and signs for you to follow up on. We want to thank Mrs. Christina Addington from the Special Education Unit in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information for sharing with us today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, until next time, see you around.
Did you know regular physical activity controls your weight, reduces your risk of cardiovascular diseases, reduces your risk for type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome, reduces your risk of some cancers, strengthens your bones and muscles, and increases your chance of living longer? Get active, get fit, stay healthy.
Men over 40, grab a chair. This next feature is just for you.
The major risk factors for prostate cancer are age. It's a disease of the aging man. So as a man gets older, it's more likely that he will be diagnosed with the disease. In addition to age, race is a major risk factor. So anywhere in the world, men of color or African background are present, they will likely be suffering from prostate cancer at a high rate. Family history is a major risk factor. If a man has one family member who has prostate cancer, his risk is double compared to someone who doesn't have the disease. If he has 2 family members, the risk is multiplied by 5. It therefore means that every man really should know what their family history is like regarding this disease. But those risk factors of age, of race, of family history are not modifiable. We can't change those things. But what we can change is a significant risk factor of diet. So the diet that is associated with that increased risk of prostate cancer is a diet that is high in fatty foods, so the polyunsaturated fatty acids, the PUFAs as we call them, a diet that is high in red meat, a diet that is high in caloric content, a diet that is low in fresh fruits and vegetables, and fiber. So not only is it an inciting factor, it's a promoter once the disease is diagnosed. Prostate cancer in its earliest stage is a disease that carries no symptoms. It's asymptomatic. That means a man will be walking around, he feels quite fine, but he can have prostate cancer. The symptoms that you anticipate if someone has more advanced disease now are things like lower urinary tract symptoms. So these may be blood in the urine, these may be difficulty urinating, straining to urinate, urinary retention maybe, and the advanced stages where now the disease has spread to distant areas. A man may have back pain or bony pain because it has spread to the bones surrounding the spinal cord. He may be unable to walk or to control his urine or stool. He may have renal failure, but these are advanced cases. So the point is, don't wait until you have symptoms. Check the prostate, and it must be done once every year. When we talk about prostate cancer, it's a global problem. It's not just Jamaica, it's not just the region, it's the world. And so we therefore suggest that men screen for prostate cancer in Jamaica. Screening is very simple. It starts at age 40 and it's done every year. The urologist does a DRE, it's called the digital rectal exam. It's just inserting the right index finger, the digit, to test the prostate. What we're doing at that exam is we're feeling for the consistency of the prostate. The normal prostate is smooth, it is firm, it is indentable, much like touching the tip of your nose. If, however, when we feel the prostate, it feels nodular, it feels hard, then we are suspicious that there may be cancer there. Now, in addition to doing this DRE, we do a blood test called the PSA, which is short for prostate-specific antigen. The PSA is a protein that is normally produced by the prostate in health and in disease. So if we see a man who either has a high PSA or his digital rectal exam is abnormal, we suggest a confirmatory test, which is a prostate biopsy, which is where we get tissue from the prostate to see if there's cancer there. Once a diagnosis of prostate cancer is established, then treatment will follow based on the age of the patient, based on their desires, based on their disease stage.
A few seconds of discomfort is better than a lifetime or many years of serious, excruciating pain. I appeal through this medium to my fellow men not to be afraid of any of the checks, the DRE or the PSA. It's for your own benefit, your own welfare. It can be prevented. You don't have to die, and you can live a good quality of life. Early detection, following your doctor's advice, and if you find that you have the cancer and you have your surgery or whatever method, just change your lifestyle to suit the occasion.
And that's how we close things off on Jamaica Magazine, but only for today. The magazine returns tomorrow, around about the same time on this station. If a TV screen is not near, you can visit our website, jis.gov.jm, or our YouTube page. We're also on all the major social media platforms, from Twitter to Facebook. And there's now a mobile app that's accessible on all Android and iOS systems. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. Thank you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.